So this morning I'm working on the Machine & Krieger Kuster, or Custer. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. However the U with the two dots over it is pronounced. I think it's Kuster. Anyway, I'm working on the Kuster this morning, getting some final details together before I prime it and get on with the build proper. But there's a part, and it's part of many of Machine & Krieger kits. There's a part where I'm supposed to add some wires along. They actually run along the front of the leg, right where you see these white strips right here. And I've talked about it before. I don't like adding wires and stuff. They can be a bit fiddly to deal with, and with my hands not being as steady as I would like, as I just providentially demonstrated, I find them kind of frustrating to put on, to the point that it's a very negative experience at times for me. But I also, in looking at where these wires go, let me see if I can pull it up in the instructions here. You see here in the instructions, right there were a couple of little hooks, and they go along there, and you have to wrap it around that, bring it down into the foot, and then it goes up the leg and out the back, and it does all these things. And I got to looking at this leg, and I thought, and I tried to put the wire on. I put it on there, and I just tried to get it wrapped around, and it was just, it just looked like a middle-aged, balding, fat man was trying to wrap wires around a plastic toy. And I just kind of went back to my thinking of, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. But I actually applied some tactical thinking to it also. It suddenly dawned on me, why would you put a critical wire that helps this thing operate facing the enemy, facing the oncoming fire? And I thought, that doesn't make any tactical sense. So, using that as my basis for excuse, I just clipped off the little guides for them, and I just cut out this piece of strip, this plastic strip, and I put it over the seam, because I think that's why the wire was there in the first place, to cover the seam. And then I just stuck on these bolts. Now, I may go back and take some lead wire and maybe have it emerge from somewhere in here and connect into the model, and maybe have a piece of it coming down here and connecting into the foot. But I just decided, you know what, I don't want it there. And that's kind of why I'm filming this, is just to encourage you in the notion that these models are what you want them to be. They're what you want to do. They're what you enjoy. And if some parts on a model don't fit with your vision of having fun, then consider taking them off. Yeah, you may catch some heat for it. If you decide, I don't like propellers on my Spitfires, well, don't put propellers on your Spitfires. Now, don't be surprised when you post it to your local friendly critique group on Facebook, and you say, what do you think of my Spitfire? CNC welcome. Don't be surprised if you get some CNC. But just from the standpoint of enjoying the hobby, do what you want. There is no right or wrong way. There are a lot of ways that are right and wrong in this world. There is truth. There is, there's a right way to do accounting, and there's a wrong way to do accounting. There's a right way to do brain surgery, and there's a wrong way to do brain surgery. There's a right way to fly an airliner, and there's a wrong way to fly an airliner. Playing with these, There's not necessarily a right way and a wrong way to do it. How do you think it looks cool? How do I think it looks cool? That's what it comes down to. And so when I'm evaluating doing something, I look at it and I go, is that worth my time? And frankly, I came to the conclusion that fiddling with those wires, yes, I could have done it if I would have spent enough time to do it, but fiddling with the wires was not worth my time. It's kind of like with this here. I'm doing an experiment to see if I can do some quick and cheap weld beads using Mr. Surfacer, because there's really good methods for doing some really cool looking weld beads. But personally, I just looked at it and thought, I don't want to take the time to do it. So if I can make this work, why not? If I can't, I'll figure something else out. Anyway, I guess you'd say that I don't even know that I'd call this a thought for the day, but it's just something that as I worked on this, I thought, maybe this is worth talking about. Who knows? But again, you determine how your models look. You determine what you want to do. Don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry about what other people think at the end of the day. Now again, if you're wanting to build, I'll go back to the example of the Spitfire. If you're wanting to build a Spitfire and it's for a contest and it's going to be judged, well, you kind of have to play by those rules. So I'm not saying, take your Spitfire without its propeller and paint it pink and purple and put it on the contest table and expect somebody to give you an award for doing so. It's not going to happen. But when you play in that world, you know that. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting there building and you're just doing it to enjoy the process, do what you want and don't worry about what the obstructions say.